Part 24. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 232. On the open space of the square, next to the construction site of Thor Trading Company, a cargo airship slowly landed. After the airship unloaded the construction materials, many people boarded the airship and left the square. The destination of this cargo airship is the transit warehouse outside the city. In addition to the office buildings and trade halls in the city, the transit warehouse outside the city is also very important. Every night, General Manager Avery will go to inspect the construction of the warehouse. Avery is a workaholic. He doesn't care about the pomp. He will take any airship he encounters, and he doesn't dislike cargo airships. In the captain's room of the airship, Avery is looking down at a report. Security Manager Slay walked towards Avery with a telescope. Master Avery, after the bounty and other means of solicitation, we found 2 people who can restrain the Scorpio wizard. Tonight, we can make that wizard disappear. Those 2 people only know that they are completing the bounty of the Black Gold Institute, and there will be no risk of exposing us. Avery suddenly remembered this matter. He said a few days ago that he would let the security manager Slay deal with the wizard. Thor Trading Company has been under great pressure recently. So many major events have happened in Fabro City, but the company's revenue is actually similar to that of Rondo Trading Company. The lack of blood servants in the Dordo district has made the company's miners very nervous. The reason why the Dordo district was not covered by blood mist was because someone contaminated the blood samples collected in the Dordo district at the last moment. Judging from the last resort, it was a good thing done by a Scorpio wizard. There is only one active Scorpio wizard in Fabro City recently, and that is the wizard Rudolph in Lehmantown. Sly's ability to do things is still very good, and it was implemented so quickly. Master Avery, now those 2 people are attacking the wizard Rudolph. If you are interested, you can take a look. Avery took the telescope and looked at a street in the distance in the direction of Sly's finger. Sly stood aside with a smile on his face. It was really lucky. Master Avery often took an airship to inspect the transit warehouse outside the city. Tonight, Master Avery saw the death of the troublesome wizard with his own eyes. However, Avery quickly put down the telescope. It's too dark there, I can't see anything. Level 3 apostles are not common. Maybe they are fighting in the dark. Tell me when the results come out. Looking at Avery walking back to the office, Sly was a little annoyed. Why didn't the 2 people make a big scene, so that he could show his face in front of Avery? On the street in the distance, Rudolph held his breath and turned his head from time to time to observe the surroundings. Just now I smelled a very faint smell, like disinfectant in the hospital. Most people in the Bayer area have gone to the mining area in the wilderness. There are few people and no lights in the surrounding houses. The street lights above the head suddenly began to flicker, and after flashing several times, the street lights went out one by one. This alley suddenly became a completely black alley. The whole alley was silent, and there was no sound. Rudolph stood there, without rash action, observing the movements around him. He opened his pocket watch and saw that the surrounding streets were empty. In the dark night, Rudolph suddenly heard a voice. Bang, bang, bang. This sound is a bit strange, very much like the stethoscope he played with when he was a child. He could hear his heartbeat by putting the stethoscope on his chest. Bang, bang. The heartbeat was unusually obvious, echoing throughout the alley. How could Rudolph's own ears hear such a clear heartbeat? In a flash, Rudolph sensed the abnormality and there was something wrong with his heartbeat. The interval between the 2 heartbeats became longer and longer, that is, Rudolph's heartbeat was slowing down. Rudolph covered his heart and slowly moved to the side, and finally sat down on the bench with a plop. After his heartbeat slowed down, Rudolph felt a burst of cramps in his heart. At a corner of the street, a man in a white coat slowly walked out. He had a stethoscope hanging around his neck. With such clothes and such abilities, he must be a plague carrier. The doctor was listening to his heartbeat with a stethoscope. After listening once, he moved the stethoscope away. Estimating the time, he put the stethoscope back to his chest when the third heartbeat sounded. Rudolph didn't know what that ability was. Ever since he heard the heartbeat in the dark, his heartbeat seemed to be controlled by this plague carrier. Now the situation is very bad. The plague carrier's heart beats twice, and his heart beats once. Rudolph's heart will beat once when the stethoscope hears the heartbeat. The plague doctor can reduce Rudolph's heartbeat speed to half of the original. At the same time, a scalpel appeared in the other hand of the plague carrier. "Are you the Scorpio wizard, Rudolph? I just came to Fabro City. I didn't expect to meet a big fish like you. It's a good harvest." The Fabro City redemption act spread around, and countless heretics gathered. The city area that the Inquisition would not set foot in was very tempting. The plague carrier also rushed here after hearing the news. Rudolph's heart beat so slowly that he had symptoms of hypoxia and hypothermia in just a short time. A silver light flashed, and the scalpel flew accurately towards Rudolph's heart. The plague mediator stared at Rudolph's hand, which was pressing on his heart at this time. The scalpel was so sharp that it could easily pierce the palm of the Scorpio wizard and his heart. At this moment, the plague mediator was horrified. He saw the iron bat wings suddenly open behind the wizard, wrapping the wizard's body, and the scalpel was blocked by the iron bat wings. The iron bat wings slowly opened, and the plague carrier found two people in the iron bat wings. Vanya, a level 3 vampire who was in collusion with the wizard in the intelligence, blocked the wizard. The scalpel fell to the ground, bouncing on the ground, making a crisp ding-dong sound. The scalpel did not move, but the sound continued strangely, and soon, the heartbeat sounded again in the streets. This time, the plague carrier wanted to capture the heartbeats of the two enemies together. Vanya rushed towards the plague carrier, but the plague carrier was not afraid. His heartbeat linkage was established very quickly. No matter how fast the vampires were, they could not be faster than the sound. However, the next moment, the plague carrier was shocked. "Where is your heartbeat?" The vampire in front of him had no heartbeat. How could a creature not have a heartbeat? But the feedback from the stethoscope showed that this vampire had no heartbeat. Logically speaking, the vampires are extremely dependent on blood. After dissecting the vampires, it will be found that the vampires' hearts are almost twice as large as those of ordinary people. A blood tangent was thrown out from Vanya's wrist, and the blood tangent directly cut into the body of the plague carrier. The body of the plague carrier was cut in half, and all the internal organs flew out at once. "Zombie! Zombie, come out to help!" The cut plague carrier quickly gave himself an injection of an unknown medicine, and not only could he speak, but he was also full of energy. In the eyes of the plague doctor, there are only dead people and patients, and no matter how serious the injury is, it can be saved. Vanya, who was about to cut open the plague carrier's head, suddenly found several hands stretched out around the plague carrier on the ground. Several corpses drilled out from the ground and dragged the plague carrier away. More corpses surrounded Vanya, trapping Vanya in the center. The person who accepted the bounty actually had a zombie, and the enemy was really well prepared. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 233. Just when the plague carrier attacked, the zombies hiding in the dark had already made a lot of arrangements. The tiles on the street were broken, and there were humps of earth. The zombies could move the corpses in the soil, and the ambushed corpses crawled out of the soil one by one. The enemy was well prepared. Scorpio toxin was useless only to a few apostles. Plague carriers and zombies were indeed the apostles least afraid of Scorpio toxin. Plague carriers can be immune to toxins through drugs, and the corpses of zombies are dead objects, and they are not afraid of toxins. The appearance of many corpses, especially the corpses of 6 level 3 apostles, was amazing. Rudolph looked carefully and found that there was no level 3 knight inside. This zombie is not good, it's almost good, far worse than Old Grey. The zombie himself didn't know where to hide, and now there were only crowded corpses in the streets. Rudolph's heart was slowly recovering. At this time, he still felt a burst of heart pain, but he was not panicked. The enemy would make preparations, and Rudolph also made a lot of preparations. At this moment, a white wolf broke through the window on the side of the road, and also smashed a hole in the wall next to the window. The white wolf, with a huge body and a shoulder height of 3 meters, was much more violent than other apostles. White-purple lightning flashed in the mouth of the white wolf, and there was also arc light between the claws of the white wolf. The wolf claw slapped, and the phantom of the claw blades shot with lightning. The already powerful force plus the violent lightning made the whole street flash with thunder and lightning for a while. Those slightly stiff apostle corpses were no match for the white wolf. There was only the stench of corpses in the alley, and now there was a burnt stench. On the airship in the distance, Avery saw a white-purple light appearing somewhere in the Bayer district and picked up the telescope again. Why does that wizard have helpers? Shouldn't all apostles be extremely afraid of wizards? Why would the vampires and werewolves help the wizard? How did the werewolf and the vampire trader follow the wizard for so long? Doesn't he need magic weapons? Sly didn't know how to answer, and this was also where he made a wrong prediction. Many people believe that the apostles around the wizard will soon be made into magic tools. Now it seems that the Scorpio wizard Rudolph is an exception. The wizard's desire does not seem to be very strong. Sly changed the subject. We can't get any information about the wizard from Miss Ivy. Miss Ivy said that we should stay away from the wizard. Sly cannot be blamed for this. Logically, Ivy can help deal with the wizard, but Ivy is trying to regain the trust of Vice Speaker Abel, so she is much more alienated from the family business. This is also unavoidable. The family will of course choose the speaker, and it is inevitable if the vice speaker is offended. Ivy just needs to behave well in front of the vice speaker, be polite on the surface, and not to tear her face with Vice Speaker Abel. Avery looked in that direction again and found that the wizard's power was much stronger than he imagined. Level 3 werewolves and level 3 vampires were actually friends of the wizard. Security manager Sly also found the situation bad. Master Avery, if it is an ordinary level 3 apostle, he will be defeated quickly in front of the Scorpio wizard. These 2 people are the only 2 people I can find in Fabreau City who are not afraid of the Scorpio wizard. If this operation fails, should we increase the response level and find a way to ask the level 4 apostle to take action? Avery nodded, okay. If this fails, it proves that the head of Wizard Rudolph is more expensive than 5,000 gold shields. Try to contact the level 4 apostle and see if anyone is willing to take action. We can give a generous reward. Sly breathed a sigh of relief. Master Avery did not blame him. It was not his fault. It was really that the strength of the Scorpio wizard was too strong. At this time, not far from the alley, under a courtyard wall, the plague carrier was lying in the corner busy with something. The air smelled of disinfectant, and the abdomen of the plague carrier was covered with yellow-brown iodine. After the broken intestines were connected, they were roughly stuffed back by the plague carrier. The internal organs could wriggle back to the correct position after being dislocated, but the plague carrier didn't care so much. The sutures flew up and down, in and out of the flesh and blood of the plague carrier's abdomen, and sutured his originally torn abdomen together. Doing surgery on yourself? Does it hurt? The plague carrier suddenly raised his head and looked at the top of his head. The wizard Rudolph was standing on the courtyard wall, watching the plague carrier perform surgery on himself with interest. The plague carrier didn't even care about the sutures and picked up the stethoscope again. However, what greeted him was the claw blade phantom like a storm. In the chaos, a cane shot down and pierced the head of the plague carrier. This time he should be dead. He can perform abdominal surgery on himself, but he can't perform craniotomy on himself. Rudolph jumped to the ground and picked up the relic. Level 3 stethoscope. The core ability of this plague carrier comes from this stethoscope. This stethoscope has a very strange ability. It can actually control the enemy's heartbeat and reduce the enemy's heartbeat speed to half of the original. At the same time, in an unmanned house farther away, a dwarf in a robe was sitting in front of the window. This window was sealed tightly by the previous blood servant, and it was covered with vertical wooden boards. The dwarf couldn't see outside, but he didn't rely on his eyes to see. He held a skull in his hands, and the eye holes of the skull were glowing with green ghost fire. The ghost fire flickered and reflected in the pupils of the dwarf. In the ghost fire, the scene seen by the corpse outside appeared. The dwarf was concentrating on using the ghost fire skull to control the corpse outside, but he suddenly sensed that there was a corpse behind him. Zombies are very sensitive to corpses, and they will find them as soon as there are corpses around. When he turned his head, he saw a level 3 night corpse behind him, splitting the wall behind him. From the gap in the wall, the dwarf saw another zombie behind the knight. The zombie was carrying a huge black corpse monument, and there was a strong aura of death around the corpse monument. The corpses of apostles were walking out of the black fog. Chains shot out from behind the corpse of the level 3 knight, allowing the level 3 knight to temporarily possess the power of a level 4 knight. The dwarf also left some corpses to guard him, but these corpses were no match for the level 4 knight. How dare you attack the level 3 knight? A dozen seconds later, the short and thin zombie in a cloak died, and Cooper had a level 3 zombie collection. In the army controlled by zombies, the corpses of apostle zombies are very important. The zombie corpses can sew up the damaged corpses in the army and keep the army healthy. They are the doctors of the zombie army. You are wronging me. I dare not attack a level 3 knight, but my teacher dares. Including this zombie corpse, Cooper can harvest a total of 8 level 3 apostle corpses tonight. Sure enough, robbing other zombies is the best way to increase the collection. Avery put down the telescope. His face was a little ugly. The battle in the alley was over, and the wizards won. Those corpses, white wolves, and blood clans fell down before they decided the winner. This proved that the owner of the corpse was discovered and shot dead. The last scene Avery saw was 4 level 3 heretics standing on the roof, looking at the airship from a distance. The 4 heretics in the night were so arrogant, as if they were laughing at Avery. This scene also made many other heretics see that there is such a force in the Bayer district. 4 level 3 heretics, wizards, blood clans, white wolves, and zombies. This group is already a big force, second only to the one with a level 4 apostle sitting in charge. The dangerous criminal gang that the Ravno family had identified at the beginning now has one more person, and he is a zombie with a high degree of danger. Avery had a feeling that the wizard knew he was on the airship and that he was wanted by Thor Trading Company. Master Avery, the airship of the police station is approaching us. They signaled us to land. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 234. Routine Inspection. After Thor Trading Company's airship landed on the ground, a dozen patrol officers boarded the airship. Avery had to come out personally to deal with this inspection, because the person who inspected the airship was none other than Police Commissioner Claude. The police station's airship was also over the city of Fabreau just now, and people from the police station also saw fighting in the southern suburbs of Bayer district. However, the people in the police department were like blind men, ignoring the dangerous battles of the heretics and instead came to review the Thor Trading Company's airship. Avery put on a professional smile as he walked forward. No matter how deep the background of Thor Trading Company is, The initiative at this moment lies in the hands of the police department. Claude's face looked very ugly. After entering Thor Trading Company's airship, he walked forward without saying a word. Claude refused to listen to the explanations given by the captain, Security Minister Sly, and others. When the patrolman grasped the situation, Sheriff Caden approached the men of Thor Trading Company. Caden is Claude's new confidant and has become very popular in the police station recently. Sheriff Caden said loudly, "Thor Trading Company illegally used cargo airships to transport a large number of people. It violated the regulations that cargo airships are not allowed to be used for passenger transportation. You are now being punished. Do you have any objections?" Sly didn't react. Is this a reason for punishment? He couldn't help but said, "Dear Sheriff Caden, this is Thor Trading Company's own airship. Now it is filled with the trading company's own employees. Do we need to be punished? It's better to just open an order and pay the money without hesitation. You still have to make up a reason, which is unnecessary." Sheriff Caden's beard was trembling with force, and he said very sternly, "The safety measures for cargo airships and passenger airships are completely different. If your airship crashes, any accident with more than 10 deaths will be reported to the Parliament. Can you bear this responsibility? Are you sure that exactly 9 people died in the boat crash?" Sly wanted to say that if the boat crashed, just a few people would die, and there would definitely be no trouble in the Alchemy Council. At this time, Avery hurriedly said, "This is all my problem. The company's airships have been very nervous recently and some of them cannot be deployed. We have realized our mistakes and will never make such mistakes again in the future." Caden handed a ticket to the person from the trading company. According to regulations, the fine is 2 gold shields. 2 gold shields is already a very high fine, and it is the highest punishment in this kind of thing. Avery asked his men to take the ticket, but he turned to Claude and said, "Mr. Director, I'm still not sure about the regulations on the use of cargo airships. I wonder if you could explain it to me in detail in the captain's room." Avery knew that the Claude in front of him did not come here intentionally to ask for a fine. He must have other things. Claude nodded and followed the crew's guidance into the captain's room. After sitting on the chair, Claude saw Avery wave away everyone, leaving only 2 people in the office. Claude said, "Master Avery, I heard that Thor Trading Company made a lot of money just after it was established. You can get it out with just 5,000 gold shields." Hearing the words 5,000 gold shields, Avery's eyes flashed and he guessed a lot of things. They placed a bounty on the wizard Rudolph at the Black Gold Institute, which was so thoroughly exposed that even Claude from the police station knew about it. The wizard must also know that Thor Trading Company is placing a bounty on him. There are many possible leaks, including the security department, the Black Gold Institute, and even Ivy, but now is not the time to dwell on this. Avery decided to investigate in detail later. Avery thought for a moment and then said, 5,000 gold shields is not a small amount. Mr. Director, I have something to confess about our use of cargo airships to transport passengers. In fact, we sometimes accidentally use passenger airships to transport cargo. Well, Director, I know you are just giving us a small blow this time. We will never make such a mistake again in the future. I paid a fine of 5,000 gold shields at one time. Do you think the mistakes we made in the past can no longer be pursued? Avery is making a statement that he will no longer put a bounty on the wizard Rudolph. Strict law enforcement is my motto, and breaking the law will be punished as my life principle, but since you have a good attitude in admitting your mistakes, I will give you a chance to correct it. Claude reluctantly agreed, as if he had suffered a lot grievance. I will destroy all the criminal records I found when I go back. You must be careful next time you use the airship and don't make these mistakes again. Avery had a smile on his face and kept expressing his gratitude. But in his mind, he has been calculating the strength of the Deputy Speaker's side. Deputy Speaker Abel's energy is much greater than it seems. The police department belongs to him, and the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army has a very good relationship with him. It would be okay if the news of the reward was leaked by the Ministry of Security or Ivy. If the details of the reward were leaked from the Black Gold Institute, it proves that Deputy Speaker Abel has a deep connection with the Black Gold Institute. There is also the criminal gang composed of 4 level 3 heretics, which also runs rampant in Bayer district. Avery's smile became brighter, and he suddenly remembered something. My sister Ivy, I don't know what's wrong with her recently. I don't know why she didn't go to see her teacher, Deputy Speaker Abel, more. I hope that, sir, can you help my sister say more good things to me? Claude snorted in his heart. Ever since he hid Deputy Speaker Abel's secrets on the night of Blood Mist, Speaker Quint had broken up with Deputy Speaker Abel. Of course, Ivy would not be allowed to enter Deputy Speaker Abel's inner circle again. He smiled and said, Vice Speaker Abel has been busy with the Constitutional Army station recently, and he has indeed given less guidance to Ivy. There is nothing we can do about it. Fabreau is in a mess now, and all order needs to be re-established. Claude's attitude made Avery understand that their investment in Vice Speaker Abel through Ivy was completely wasted. In the future, Ivy will never have an important position with Vice Speaker Abel again. Maintaining the current superficial friendship is already the limit. However, Avery did not feel any regrets in his heart. When the trading company gets on the right track, Speaker Quint will use a large bundle of banknotes to open the council hall of the provincial parliament, and then it will be just a simple sentence to get Abel out. Avery asked, by the way, Director Claude, you are well informed in the parliament. I wonder when Colonel Gayton's 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army will leave Fabreau. Whether it is a wizard or Ivy, these are minor issues, but the existence of the Constitutional Army has greatly affected the operation of the Thor Trading Company. A powerful army is right next to it, making many people timid. This matter? Claude said with a smile. I think you will know soon that the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army has obtained the permission of the County Council and will be stationed in Fabreau City in the future. The redemption plan of Fabreau City has caused great controversy in the County Council. The County Council recognizes the determination of the Fabreau City Council to save the residents of the city, but it is also a little worried. Level 5 Vampire Revno and Level 5 Red Wolf King Weston are both dangerous apostles. Therefore, the County Council has passed a resolution to allow the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army to be stationed in Fabreau City to help Fabreau City through this difficult time. After speaking, Claude stood up and left here leisurely. Avery was struck by lightning. In the original trade, the vampires were responsible for the mines, the werewolves were responsible for transportation, and the Thor Trading Company and Rondo Trading Company were responsible for sales, and everyone made a profit. For this, the werewolves and the vampires paid a huge price. But now, if the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army is stationed here, it means that the price paid by the werewolves and the vampires has become irreparable. One of their demands is to live openly in the city. As long as the 56th Regiment is there, the loss of the vampires and werewolves cannot be compensated. Colonel Gayton can take sudden and fierce attacks on heretics in the name of training at any time. The 56th Regiment may not care about the blood servants and a small number of werewolves, but there is no doubt that the high-level heretics will be attacked by Colonel Gayton's rockets. Avery sighed. He didn't expect that there were so many corrupt and hypocritical alchemists in the county council. Maybe the benefits given out were not enough. The arrival of the Constitutional Army was promoted by Vice Speaker Abel. Now the Constitutional Army is stationed in Fabreau City, which has tied everyone's hands and feet. Avery felt that excluding Vice Speaker Abel from the plan at that time has now proved to be a complete failure. Anything in Fabreau City will be difficult to do without the consent of Vice Speaker Abel. Of course, if Vice Speaker Abel was told in advance, he might have destroyed it long ago. Avery was also very troubled. He didn't know how to tell the Red Wolf King and Ravno about this news later. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 235. After Avery sent Claude off the airship, he returned to the airship with a sullen face. After returning to the captain's room, the captain felt very aggrieved. He also knew that cargo airships could not transport people, but Master Avery insisted on coming up, and he had no choice. "Master, I will be more careful in the future and will not make such a mistake again." The captain could only admit his mistake first, even if he thought it was not his fault. Avery said, "This has nothing to do with you, and you will still do what you should do in the future. You go out first, Manager Sly, you stay." After the others left, Avery said, "The bounty of the Black Gold Institute has been known by Claude." Sly was sweating coldly. He suddenly felt scared. The bounty was leaked? Did the Scorpio wizard also know that he was the one who operated it? He thought about it and thought that the only ones who might have leaked it were him, Miss Ivy, and the Black Gold Institute. We must not admit that it was the security department that leaked the secret. We consulted Miss Ivy when offering a bounty on the wizard, but we dare not say it was Miss Ivy. Excluding all possibilities, we can only blame the Black Gold Office. The Black Gold Office actually leaked the secret. How dare they? How could they do this? So what if the Black Gold Office opened a Black Gold Office in Fabreau City? We must not bypass the Alchemy Council. Or, even if we can bypass the Alchemy Council, we can't bypass those people in power, Avery continued, but the current strength of the security department is too weak to cope with the current situation in Fabreau City. We can't rely on the Speaker and the Judgment Office for everything. Sly, I will give you more support to make the security department stronger. Passive. Since the night of Blood Fog, Avery felt passive everywhere. All their actions were blocked by Vice Speaker Abel, and Speaker Quint couldn't come up with any good solutions for the time being. Sly asked, "Then do we still want to continue to participate in the Black Gold Agency's transactions?" Avery shook his head. "The Black Gold Agency, go and withdraw the bounty on the wizard Rudolph, and this matter ends here. Focus on more important things first. Have you arranged the meeting with those people tonight?" "It's arranged. I'll go see if the police station has sent anyone to follow. If not, we will meet on time." Sly closed the door for Avery. He saw Avery's sad face and felt that it was difficult for such a young master of a big family. Sly returned to his office. There were still many things to arrange. He needed a cigar to refresh himself. A subordinate took out a cigar at the right time and lit it for Manager Sly. The thick smoke entered his lungs, and Sly's fatigue and tension were relieved a lot. He exhaled a puff of smoke, enjoying the comfort after satisfying his smoking addiction. Just as he began to think about the next work, his face suddenly turned red, he covered his throat, and couldn't say a word. As if the thick smoke had blocked his throat, Sly felt pain all over his body, his muscles twitched randomly, and gradually, his body began to become numb and lose consciousness. Sly saw with his peripheral vision that the smoke from the cigar was actually lavender. In an instant, Sly remembered the horror stories about the Scorpio wizard, his pupils contracted violently, and he thought he was going to die. The trusted subordinates beside him saw Sly's miserable condition and rushed over to help him, but he could do nothing. Seeing the emergency, the subordinate wanted to go out and call for help, but his arm was tightly grasped by Sly, and his bones began to ache. At a certain moment, Sly wanted to kill his trusted subordinate in front of him. He thought that this subordinate had been bribed by the Scorpio wizard. The hot alchemical dagger was pressed against the subordinate's throat, and Sly was a little confused again. There was no other emotion in the subordinate's pupils, only panic and disbelief. 10 seconds later, Sly breathed again. He gasped for air. At this moment, he understood that it was not that he could resist the scorpion toxin, but that the wizard let him go. It was his identity as the security manager who saved him. The wizard did not want to break up with Thor Trading Company, just like the chief of police came to knock the company. Sly's voice was hoarse, "Bring the cigar, here." The subordinate hurriedly picked up the cigar that fell on the ground and handed it to Sly. Sly looked at it carefully and didn't see anything wrong. How did the wizard know that he liked to smoke cigars? Cigar box? Bring the cigar box here. The cigar box was opened, and the subordinate found a note with trembling hands. Sly took it and saw a line of small words on it, "Life is so beautiful." Sly trembled all over. He opened the small round window of the airship as quickly as possible, threw out the cigar and cigar box, and held the note tightly in his hand. The cold air from high altitude poured into the room, which made Sly sober up a little, and then he felt a strong nausea. He rushed into the toilet again and vomited continuously until he vomited out all his bitterness. After tearing up the note and flushing it away with the vomit, Sly returned to his position. "Life is so beautiful, what a vicious taunt." Sly's head was soaked with cold sweat at this time. He closed his eyes and said, "Don't tell anyone what happened here." This subordinate was also completely unaware. The Scorpio wizard just wanted to let Sly know that he had the ability to kill him at any time. The airship continued to move forward until it landed in an empty field of a transit warehouse in the suburbs. Even after getting off the airship, Sly was still top-heavy. He followed Avery to the office building in the transit warehouse. Fortunately, it was late at night, and the darkness covered Sly's ugly face. In the basement of the office building, there is a very large conference room. At this time, there were already 2 people in the conference room. Only Avery entered the meeting room. Sly and others were waiting outside the meeting room. After pulling out the chair, Avery sat down. In the darkness, a woman said, "Long time no see, Master Avery." "Long time no see, Ms. Hera." The former High Priest Hera actually appeared in this office. Avery looked at the other side again, where there was a werewolf, the level 4 werewolf Waldo. "Hello, Mr. Waldo." Waldo's wolf head sprayed out a mist, which was considered a response to Avery. The meeting was held on Avery's territory, but Avery didn't know what to say first for a while. He just waited for the 2 to ask questions. Hera of the Blood Clan spoke first. "Master Avery, I think you must know that the castle of the Ravno family was flattened by the Constitutional Army." "I know, this is really unfortunate news." "Then do you also know that many officers of the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army have the magical weapon Batwing?" "I know, this is really too bad." "Master Avery, about the cruel revenge of the Constitutional Army, you and the people behind you, are you not going to say anything?" Avery opened the file in front of him, and after a long pause, he said, "I'm sorry, Ms. Hera, these are beyond our expectations. If it was other regiments, we still have the ability to move, but Colonel Gayton of the 56th Regiment is not something we can control. Can an apology make up for our losses? The best way to make others forget a bad news is to tell him a worse news." Avery said. "Let's not talk about the losses first. I just learned about a worse problem today. We originally thought that the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army was just maintaining the dignity of the Alchemy Council, and they would leave after taking certain actions. But who would have thought that the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army was so interested in the wilderness? I just got the news that they plan to stay in the wilderness." "Humph. I can prove this level 4 werewolf," Waldo said. "The Constitutional Army has been conducting live fire drills, and the target of the drills is our werewolf tribe. They are indeed planning to stay in Fabro City." Hera's voice became more and more severe. "What on earth do you want to do? Is this how Speaker Quint treats his allies? If you go too far, the Ravno family will send our agreement with Speaker Quint to the barracks of that butcher Gayton. I think he will be very happy." Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 236. Hearing Hera threaten to reveal their plan to Colonel Guyton, Avery just smiled and shook his head. We are all little people pushed to the front desk to run errands by big people. If you really dare to do that, then I will lay a flower on your tombstone to express my admiration with flowers, Ms. Hera. Hera knew that she could only talk, and she stared at Avery angrily. If the 56th Regiment of the Constitutional Army stays in Fabreau City, the Rievno family will not only lose their original sphere of influence based on the Red Church, but they will not even be able to keep the castle. What have we gained? Avery said, the Rievno family has obtained more than 10,000 blood servants. You have firmly grasped the mining area. This is your capital. Waldo, the level 4 werewolf in the distance, sneered and said. The useless Rievno family, according to the plan, should have more than 20,000 blood servants. Just because they didn't watch out for a wizard, they lost one blood servant in one district. It's really ridiculous. Hera's face was ashen. The appearance of the Scorpio wizard Rudolph in the Night of Blood Fog completely disrupted the plan, and the number of blood servants was reduced by 1/3. Avery nodded and said slowly. To be honest, Ms. Hera, I have no sympathy for the destruction of the castle. The number of blood servants has been reduced by 1/3, leaving 2 mines in the Ruhr mining area idle. Those prepared equipment will quickly break down if not used for a long time, and many follow-up preparations for this will be wasted. The output of the mining area will also be significantly reduced as a result. We urgently need money to repay the county councillors who support us, but now it seems that the benefits are not very satisfactory. To make matters worse, the people in Bayer district did not become blood servants, making Fabreau City a city where heretics and normal people were mixed. Abel has good reasons to block many of our bills. None of the bills that are detrimental to ordinary people have been implemented so far. Deputy Speaker Abel had ample room for display, disturbing the peace of several forces. This is why Speaker Quint is now tied up. The low jeers of the werewolf echoed in the basement. Hera changed her target. Waldo, can you laugh now? According to the plan, you werewolves can get 3 towns, but now the werewolves in those towns have been burned to white ash by white phosphorus bombs, right? Waldo put away his smile and looked at Hera coldly with wolf eyes without saying a word. The werewolves also failed to complete their plan. They could only wander in the wilderness and failed to take the crucial step. Okay, now there is no point in worrying about the gains and losses of the Blood Mist Knight. Avery turned to the werewolf Waldo. Mr. Waldo, can the first batch of sample iron ore be transported to this transit warehouse on time? We urgently need to make a demonstration as soon as possible to show the results of our development of the wilderness. Letting werewolves be responsible for transporting goods in the wilderness is definitely a genius idea, and it can reduce transportation costs exponentially. Waldo nodded. The iron ore mined from the open pit iron mine is already on its way here, and the first batch of coal mines has been counted when I left. Avery nodded with satisfaction. Coal and iron are always the favorites of alchemists, he said. Coal, iron, copper, rare metals, only by displaying these in front of those congressmen can we better convince them. I know that all parties have paid a heavy price, but please be sure to firmly support Speaker Quint at this time. In the Alchemy Parliament, the struggle between Speaker Quint and Abel is becoming increasingly fierce. If Speaker Quint loses, the shares promised to you will not be implemented. By then, the losses will only be more severe. Hera and Walden knew that when the situation developed into what it was now, they could only grit their teeth and continue. Werewolf Waldo couldn't help but ask. Why did we exclude someone as important as the deputy speaker from the plan? If we gave him some benefits and tied him to our chariot, wouldn't we have saved so much trouble? Avery returned. If Deputy Speaker Abel hadn't kept the secret, the wolf tide would have been dealt with before it appeared. Abel would have invited the Constitutional Army to wipe out the level 5 werewolf tribe in the wilderness. Not to mention the Night of Blood Fog. You don't think Deputy Speaker Abel will allow Mr. Rievno to become a level 5 vampire, right? We are pioneers, explorers, doing things that have never been done before in the Carolingian kingdom. This also means unpredictable risks. Deputy Speaker Abel also has the support of some people. People at higher levels don't want things to get completely out of control. The two knew that Avery was right. If they hadn't found a way to hide the news from the deputy speaker and removed the deputy speaker at the critical moment, all the plans would not have started. "Where is the wizard Rudolph?" Hera asked. "He is still alive and kicking. Is he also a person who cannot move?" Avery thought of everything that had just happened on the road and said, "Of course I want to kill the wizard. However, there is a level 3 white wolf, a level 3 vampire, and a level 3 living corpse next to the wizard Rudolph. The first batch of people who tried the test have already died in the wizard Rudolph in the hands of Dolph and his companions. This is not the most critical thing. If it were just like this, I could also spend money to hire more people to take action. However, today, Deputy Speaker Abel sent someone to beat me. Unless Abel is defeated first, I cannot take action against the wizard." That wizard held so much weight in Deputy Speaker Abel's heart that I had no choice but to give up. "We will continue to support Speaker Quint, but," Hera said, "according to the previous allocation, the Rievno family will sell blood in Fabreau City." Avery nodded. "You can start to build your business channels. The Rondo district and the Bayer district are now open to all heretics. As long as they are not excessive, they will not attract the attack of the Constitutional Army." The werewolf Waldo also mentioned his own ideas. "Then we must also follow the previous plan to obtain the farms and land of the 3 towns outside the city of Fabreau." Avery nodded again. "This is a bit difficult. It is a bit close to the 56th Regiment's base, but you can find some agents." After talking about some more details, the meeting was over. The three of them came to the first floor and looked at the transit warehouse that was being built overnight through the glass. Thor Trading Company worked in 3 shifts and arranged a lot of manpower and machinery to build this warehouse, so that the warehouse at this time has begun to take shape. The neat roads and a piece of stockyards indicate that this place will be extremely busy in the future. Please rest assured, the application for the railway has also been approved. We will build a freight station in 3 months. At that time, the minerals in the wilderness will be sold to other places continuously. Let us take on this amazing wealth together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 237. Bayer District, Bonpad Street. Rudolph, Cooper, and Yvonne entered a hot spring bath in Bayer District that was open for trial operation. Rudolph looked at the bathhouse owner Base, who was following him, and asked in confusion, "Mr. Base, can mineral hot spring water be pumped out from the underground of Bayer District?" "Hey? You say it's a coincidence, it was pumped out, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I pumped out the spring water. I have a unique method of extracting water from deep wells, which is a business secret that I will never pass on." Looking at Base's sincere face, Rudolph believed it a little. "Mr. Base, since they are all hot springs, can I still use my previous VIP card?" "It's not impossible if I want to use it." Base's face was full of pain. "Rudolph, I want to ask you for a favor." "You say?" "I'm not familiar with this Bayer district either. Can you protect me? Be my big brother." What did I think it was? It's easy to say. In Fabreau City, as long as you mention my name, Scorpio Wizard Rudolph will come to you. "Rudolph, it definitely works." Base asked tentatively, "Does it really work? With our relationship, can I still lie to you? Starting tonight, all the heretics in the Bayer district will know how powerful I am. Someone in the Black Gold Institute put a bounty of 5,000 gold shields on my head. After tonight, they will withdraw the bounty. Do you know what this means? It means that I not only survived the bounty, but also forced the person behind the bounty to withdraw the bounty. I'll tell you a secret that is not a secret. The person who put the bounty on me is the Thor Trading Company. Even they can't do anything to me. Isn't it easy to protect your bathhouse? Base breathed a sigh of relief. Rudolph, it has to be you. You are doing so well in the Bayer district. Since Base was willing to stand up and protect Lehmantown in the Wolftide, Rudolph would not sit idly by, not to mention that Base's hot spring bath is really good. Rudolph took out another police badge. Look, this is the senior police badge of the police station. Didn't you fail to get a business license? I'll send you a message tomorrow morning, and you'll get a business license in the afternoon. Base took Rudolph's badge, looked at it carefully, and exclaimed sincerely, Rudolph, you can get a 20% discount in the future. Only 20% off. 30% off. Absolute discount. 40% off, isn't my face worth 40% off? Base said cheerfully, 40% off is 40% off. You guys play first, I'll prepare red wine for you. Is it the brand you like? After getting Rudolph's support, Base went to prepare red wine happily. After Rudolph and the other two took a hot bath, they enjoyed the red wine. Unfortunately, Base said that the wine was not within the scope of discount after the wine was opened. Cooper, you used to wander around with the circus, and then you were thrown into the wilderness by Old Gray. Now you squat in the cemetery every day. It's meaningless. The situation has changed now. In order to develop the resources in the wilderness, the masters of the parliament allow the existence of heretics in half of Fabreau City. There is no need for us to hide. It's great for everyone to appear in the Bayer district openly, eat and drink. Cooper was in a good mood tonight. He harvested 8 level 3 collections. He said, it's good to enjoy it occasionally, but the Bayer district is so chaotic. Shouldn't we be more cautious to avoid capsizing in the ditch? Rudolph shook his head. The best way to avoid capsizing in the ditch is for us to be the stitch. It's so tiring for us to be careful of others, and it should be others who are careful of us. Sly, the manager of the security department, is very efficient. After the meeting between Master Avery and the people in the mining industry, he immediately sent someone to contact the Black Gold Institute overnight to cancel the bounty. The bounty was not completed, but cancelled. There are only 2 possibilities: either the target died unexpectedly, or the person on whom the bounty was offered was too difficult, so the publisher had to cancel it. The heretics who dared to enter the Bayer area at this time were bold and careful, and soon someone knew the general situation of the night battle. The battle was fierce, and Rudolph and his men did not deliberately avoid or hide. Someone blocked the Scorpio wizard Rudolph, but 4 level 3 heretics appeared on the wizard's side, and the prey directly became the hunter, killing the person who wanted to get the bounty. As Rudolph guessed, those heretics who had just entered the Bayer area to seek opportunities quickly learned that there was a dangerous combination of wizards, werewolves, vampires, and zombies active in the Bayer area. Cooper suddenly remembered something. By the way, won't your friend, the vampire Vanya, come and enjoy himself? My friend, he only talks about giving, not asking for anything in return. He is the first to fight, but feels unworthy when he enjoys himself, so he leaves first. Rudolph looked at Cooper. Cooper, is there anything you can learn from a friend like Vanya? No, not at all. Cooper will not pay tonight, and he will never fall into any trap. After a while, Base brought 2 people into the lounge, and they turned out to be Mrs. Jessica and her daughter Yanilla. Mrs. Jessica twisted her waist and walked in front of Rudolph, and Rudolph quickly stood up from the recliner. Mrs. Jessica, I didn't expect to see you here. Mrs. Jessica said, I thought Claude hadn't had time to tell you yet, and I happened to meet you here, so I told you directly. Please go ahead, you're welcome. Your instructions are the same as Claude's arrangements. Rudolph knew that Mrs. Jessica was the most special one among Claude's many lovers. I want to open a women's accessories store on Bomford Street, and I also want you to help deal with some difficult matters. What do you think? Rudolph nodded quickly, of course. After all, Claude is the chief of the police station. Sometimes it is not convenient for him to show up. You can come to me when you encounter such a situation. I will be there at any time. Mrs. Jessica nodded with satisfaction. Claude's little brother is so satisfactory in all aspects. No wonder Claude always comes to him when he has something to do. She brought Yanilla to her and said, Yanilla, you should learn from Rudolph in the future, strive to be independent as soon as possible, and don't always act like a child. Yanilla pouted and said nothing. At this time, Claude also entered the trial operation bathhouse. As he walked in, he looked at the decoration of the bathhouse. Base, your decoration is good. For a while, everyone seemed to have the illusion of returning to Leemantown. Leemantown has become a ruin, but many people there are living tenaciously in other places, and they live better. The 5,000 gold shields offered for Rudolph appeared in front of him. Rudolph and the others happily divided it up. It was a happy night for everyone. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 238. Chapter 238 Libra Witch Language, Equality. The people who were gathering in the bathhouse dispersed, and Rudolph and Yvonne returned to the Dordo District Orphanage. Rudolph walked onto the rooftop of the orphanage. He still had a magic weapon to make. This time, the plague medium belonged to Rudolph and the zombies belonged to Cooper, who helped Rudolph ambush the assassins of Thor Trading Company. A new relic was obtained from the plague medium, which was the level 3 stethoscope of the plague medium. This stethoscope can reduce the enemy's heartbeat to half of the original. Rudolph estimated that when he was hit by the spell, his heart rate was less than 30 beats per minute, and he almost fainted at that time. If his physical fitness had not been strengthened many times, perhaps the stethoscope would have killed him. The level 3 stethoscope has disappeared from Rudolph's star map. In the star field of Pisces, the Pisces Epsilon star was lit up, and the progress of Pisces reached 9/15. 3 suspended stars fell from the Pisces Epsilon star, and inside were 3 reward options for Rudolph. Level 3 heartbeat control, Level 3 cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and Level 3 hair growth. Hair growth? Rudolph touched his head, and his hair was temporarily thick, and there was no risk of baldness. I didn't expect that the plague carrier had such a practical ability, and it was Level 3 hair growth. It seems that hair loss is also a stubborn disease in this world, and it requires powerful plague medicine to cure it. Level 3 cardiopulmonary resuscitation, it looks like a very powerful technique. If a person has been dead for a short time, this technique can be used to forcibly restore his heartbeat, and maybe he can save his life. However, Rudolph still prefers Level 3 heartbeat control, which is a unique ability of the stethoscope. Make a sound. As long as the sound is transmitted to the enemy's ears, the enemy will hear his heartbeat. There will be some connection between the heartbeat heard by the enemy and the heartbeat heard by the stethoscope. As long as the stethoscope is controlled, the enemy's heartbeat can be controlled. After drawing the astrological triangle on the rooftop, Rudolph placed the Level 3 stethoscope in the circle on the left side of the triangle. He did not plan to make this magic weapon look like a stethoscope, which would be too inconvenient. He was not a doctor, and it was unreasonable to carry a stethoscope with him. Rudolph took out an earplug and placed it in the circle on the right. In the end, the shape of the magic weapon would be an earplug, which was very easy to hide. It is October, the Libra month of wizards. Libra magic language is also the second air sign magic language that Rudolph has learned. The magic language used for the level 3 magic weapon heartbeat earplug is Pisces magic language entanglement and Libra magic language equivalence. The image of Libra is a balance. Even if one side is cotton and the other is iron, as long as the weight is equal, it is equivalent in front of the balance. Just as people only trust Libra wizards to lead the black gold, Libra's star power is a constellation that focuses on fairness and balance. Of course, Libra wizards often play some tricks to make this fairness only look fair. After imitating the heartbeat, use the Pisces witch language entanglement to establish a certain connection between the enemy's heartbeat and your own heartbeat. Then use the Libra witch language equivalence to establish an equal relationship between the enemy's second heartbeat and your third heartbeat. When your heart beats for the third time, the enemy's heart beats for the second time, so that the enemy's heartbeat will suddenly be half of the original. This trick is more useful for those apostles with superior physiques. For example, giants or werewolves, their huge bodies represent higher requirements for the heart. To supply blood to the arms and torsos more than 10 meters away, a strong heart is needed. The heartbeat suddenly drops to half of the original, which will definitely make them collapse instantly. From the Libra's star field, the Libra's star power fell. The Libra's star power entered Rudolph's body, and Rudolph instantly felt his shoulders sink, and felt that something heavy was hanging on both shoulders. The Libra's star power slowly flowed down and gathered at Rudolph's feet. After the star power entered the astrological triangle from his feet, it flew to the circle at the top with the star stone powder and 2 items. When the ceremony was over, Rudolph got an earplug, a cork earplug, which was his new magic tool. Putting the earplug into his ears, Rudolph heard his heartbeat. The function of the earplug is similar to that of a stethoscope, or even more convenient. After learning the second air sign Libra witch language, Rudolph felt very urgent. He needed to learn the third air sign witch language, Aquarius witch language, as soon as possible, so that he would be eligible for promotion. Rudolph looked up and looked at the moon in the sky. Now is only October of Libra month, and Aquarius month is February, and there are still 4 months. An impatient person really can't be a wizard. Even if the sun of luck comes, he has to wait for the arrival of the corresponding wizard month. No wonder wizards die so quickly. This poor promotion mechanism slows down the growth of wizards. Many wizards die in the month before promotion. A few days later, Bath's hot spring bathhouse officially opened. Rudolph has a new place to go. When he is free, he will go to the bathhouse to soak in the hot springs. Of course, he emphasized to Bath that the methods of annihilation of priests cannot be used on him. Bath is also a heretic, a priest annihilated by the evil god. But from Bath's methods, he has no connection with other evil gods and has been carefully hiding himself. Bath replied, "Oh my god, Rudolph, you are now a level 3 wizard like Bloody Saren, and you are also the most unprovoked Scorpio wizard among wizards. Am I crazy to do something to you?" Thanks to the name of Scorpio wizard, Rudolph saved a lot of trouble. One day, Rudolph had just finished a hot spring bath and was taking a nap in the lounge. He heard a very light footstep, and judging from the footstep, the person who came was very light. Not long after, the person came to Rudolph. "Sir, do you need a massage?" The voice was very nice, and Base hired a very good waitress. Rudolph closed his eyes and didn't even raise his eyelids. "Yes." Rudolph lay on the chair, and a pair of hands gently massaged his temples and the top of his head. The strength was just right, and the fingertips twisted, and Rudolph's skin tightened and loosened, which was very comfortable. Soon, the waitress's breath gently fell beside Rudolph's ears and on Rudolph's face, making Rudolph feel a little itchy and a little teasing. After entering Fabro City, Base's strategy also changed, and he started to play a marginal ball. "Are you comfortable, sir?" The waitress's massage moved from the top of the head to the side of the ear, and then from the side of the ear to the neck and shoulders. Gradually, Rudolph felt drowsy. Just when he was about to relax his vigilance, Rudolph suddenly smelled some special perfume. He was a Scorpio wizard and was very sensitive to this kind of smell that could affect his state. "You'd better not move, otherwise you will die." Rudolph's cold voice sounded, scaring the waitress. A scalpel suddenly appeared in his hand and was already against the waitress's waist. When Rudolph opened his eyes, he found that the waitress in front of him was Mrs. Jessica's daughter, Yanilla. "Yanilla? Why is it you?" Yanilla stood up immediately. When she stood up, her clothes were cut open by the sharp scalpel, revealing the fair skin inside. Rudolph sniffed and found that the air was full of the smell of silver snake charm perfume. "Yanni, what are you doing?" Yanni held her clothes and said in embarrassment, "Promotion. I want to be promoted on you." "Promotion on me? How can you be promoted on me?" Yanni raised her head. "Silver Snake's promotion ceremony, charm an apostle of the opposite sex who can't be conquered. You are the one I chose." Rudolph couldn't help shaking his head. "Your sentence is wrong, since that person can't be conquered, how can you charm him? So Silver Snake's promotion is difficult." Rudolph suddenly remembered something. "Your mother has not been promoted, is it because she has not been able to conquer Claude?" "Yes, I said that Claude is not a good person. How can such a person really fall in love with my mother?" Rudolph thought of a loophole of Silver Snake. "Then don't you Silver Snake have to change a man every time you are promoted? No wonder Silver Snakes are so charming, it turns out that this is their promotion requirement." "Not really. You can also repeatedly seduce a person. Seduce him, dump him, make him suffer, then seduce him again, and dump him again." Tisk tisk. Rudolph shook his head. "I advise you to give up. I can't be conquered by you, let alone be conquered by you repeatedly." However, judging from Yanilla's expression, she has not yet realized the sinisterness of the man. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 239. Yanilla didn't help out in her own jewelry store, but worked as a waitress in Bath's bathhouse. Bath said that Mrs. Jessica hoped that Yanilla would be promoted as soon as possible and have more self-protection power. Moreover, this waitress was Rudolph's exclusive waitress. Every time she went to the bathhouse, Yanilla would appear at the first time to serve Rudolph tea and wine and massage his feet. Every time after enjoying himself, Rudolph would say, "I am not someone you can charm or conquer. You should change someone quickly." Yanilla said it didn't matter, the more difficult it is to charm someone, once the charm is completed, the greater the improvement it brings to me. I am only 16 years old, and there is plenty of time to slowly conquer you. Rudolph always shook his head, stopped talking, and concentrated on enjoying himself. Maybe Mrs. Jessica just wanted her daughter to practice, and it didn't matter whether she succeeded or not. On the full moon in October, Rudolph was enjoying Yanilla's massage in the bathhouse, thinking about helping Yvonne spend the full moon transformation night in the second half of the night. Countless whispers suddenly rang in his mind, dense and low whispers. "Blood, where is the blood? Revenue is lower than expected. We need to change. God's expectations." The strongest whispers around were still about blood. The Revno family was still so haunting. After listening for a while, Rudolph saw Base coming to the lounge to deliver wine, and he asked, "Base, has anything big happened in the Bayer area recently?" "Big things? Oh, the biggest thing may be those poor blood servants," Base said. "Thor Trading Company announced a new policy. Miners in the Wilderness Ruhr mining area can return to Fabro City for 6 days every month. Today is the day when the first batch of blood servants return. My landlord came back and talked to me. He wanted to sell the house directly to me. It's quite pitiful to think about it. He has to say goodbye to his previous life." Yanilla looked down at Rudolph affectionately like a lover, but Rudolph closed his eyes. She said, "I didn't expect that the policy of Thor Trading Company is so humane, allowing blood servant miners to return to Fabreau City. Rudolph raised the corner of his mouth and said with a sneer, "I guess it's not humane. I heard that the blood servants in the mines return. The Revno family manages the mine, but the Thor Trading Company must be very dissatisfied with the Revno family's recent management of the iron mine. The Revno family is good at blood sacrifice and killing, but asking them to manage miners who value efficiency, is like asking a blind man for directions. Therefore, the Thor Trading Company used this method to intervene in the management of miners in the iron mine. It means that the Revno family should not do too much, and anything that happens in the mine may be known to people outside. At the same time, this may also be the intention of the Alchemy Council. This will make the Redemption Act more reasonable and let people know that the Alchemy Council of Fabreau City is really trying to redeem more than 10,000 blood servants. I thought it was just a benefit of the Thor Trading Company, but it turned out to be so complicated." Yanilla looked at Rudolph below with admiration, but unfortunately Rudolph still did not open his eyes. Rudolph said, "Sometimes, if you think the worst of people, you will know their true thoughts." Base smiled and said, "Yanilla, I think you should find someone else to complete your promotion. If you continue like this, you will be like your mother. She is just wasting time on Director Claude. How can Rudolph be charmed or conquered by you?" Yanilla poured wine for Rudolph and said indifferently, "I don't. It is of course difficult to be promoted to Silver Snake. How can I back down the first time?" After enjoying the massage, Rudolph stood up and prepared to go back to the orphanage. Only then did he see Yanilla's wolf girl costume, with a pair of white fur-pointed ears on her head, fur rings on her wrists and ankles, a white tail behind her, and a body that had just begun to develop under the thin gauze. After shaking his head, Rudolph said, "Your level of charm is not good. It is far from my original wolf girl." Yanilla watched Rudolph leave angrily and vowed to walk out a unique charm path of her own. After leaving the bathhouse, Rudolph saw that there were indeed many blood servants on the street. The blood servants came back to live in a home they hadn't lived in for a month, and to get some fresh air in the city. Rudolph passed by the blood servants one by one. There was no joy of returning home on their faces. They were all skinny and bony, and obviously had never drunk human blood. At this time, a fierce quarrel broke out in the basement of the transit warehouse in Gazetown. "What do you mean? The mining in the mine is the responsibility of the Revno family. What right do you have to let the blood servant miners return to Fabreau City?" Faced with Hera's questioning, Avery just smiled and said, "Ms. Hera, please don't get excited. We have our considerations. Do you want to hear real reasons or false reasons?" "Humph. It's nothing more than Quint wants to show his kindness and prove the hypocrisy and ridiculousness of the Redemption Act." Avery nodded. "That's about it?" Deputy Speaker Abel is facilitating the County Council's investigation of the City Council's Redemption Act. At this critical juncture, it must be proved that the Redemption Act is indeed saving more than 10,000 blood servant citizens and proving the correctness of the Alchemy Council's reluctance to directly execute tens of thousands of blood servants. As for the blood servant miners, the werewolf Waldo didn't have any ideas. He just wanted to get the part of the profit from transporting ore in the wilderness, but about Abel, he had something to say. "Why don't we find a chance to kill Abel, the disgusting alchemist? As long as he's around, many things will be difficult for us to do. Ravno, our Wolf King, and Quint, if we find a chance to secretly kill Abel, won't everything be solved?" Avery shook his head. "With Colonel Gayton here, this is the stupidest plan, and the key is that it's difficult to deal with the aftermath. When dealing with alchemists, you must not only think about violence, and profit is the biggest motivation for alchemists." Avery turned to Hera. "Ms. Hera, please pay attention to your management methods in the mine, and don't let a large number of blood servants die again. Blood servants are not enough, and if a large number of blood servants die, it will affect the efficiency of mining. This is also the real reason why we allow blood servants to return to Fabreau City. Hendington, a level 3 vampire who stayed in the Ruhr mining area, didn't know what vampire secret technique he used to make the blood servants obedient and completely obey the orders of the Ravno family. Even if he returned to Fabro City, he would not tell others that the Ravno family kept high-level vampires in the mine. However, their methods were also very brutal, and more than 50 blood servants had died in a few months. This was something that the Thor Trading Company did not want to see. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 240. In the second half of the night of the full moon, Rudolph and Ivan walked out of the basement of the cemetery. Ivan had changed her clothes and leaned against Rudolph, feeling a little tired. Just as the two were about to return to the orphanage, Cooper appeared and called them. Your friend, the one sleeping in the ancient bronze coffin, seems to be waking up. Rudolph and Ivan looked at each other. Sam. So soon? They walked to a remote tomb, and 4 corpses emerged from the ground to help Cooper dig up the tomb. Cooper said, I heard the sound coming from this bronze coffin, and I guess the person inside should wake up. There were complex reliefs on the bronze coffin under the moonlight, and I don't know what story of the Blood Clan was engraved. Soon, the heavy coffin lid was pushed open little by little, and the scene inside was revealed. The bronze coffin has a peculiar function that can perfectly preserve blood. 3 months have passed, and the blood in the bronze coffin is still the same as when it was just put in. A pale hand stretched out from the pool of blood, and this hand climbed the edge of the coffin and pulled his whole body out. Suddenly coming out of the blood, Sam's lungs touched the air again, like a baby who had just been separated from the amniotic fluid, making him cough violently. Sam, covered in blood, stood up from the coffin. His body was still a little stiff, standing in the copper coffin to adapt to his body that had just awakened. Welcome back, Sam. You entered the copper coffin in July, but you didn't expect to finish your sleep in October and become a level 1 vampire. Sam looked at Rudolph and Ivan outside the tomb, feeling a little like a world away. The blood in his body seeped into Sam's skin, making Sam feel much better. Hello, Captain Rudolph. Hello, Ivan. Sam followed Rudolph out of the cemetery. Rudolph said on the way, Sam, your vampire talent seems to be very good. Such a short sleep has made you a level 1 vampire. Now you have a lifespan of 250 years, which is amazing. 250 years? That long? Yes, if there is no accident, you can see my great-great-great-grandson. Then my great-great-great-grandson will be in your hands. Sam smiled and felt that this was ridiculous. He calculated in his mind that if a generation lasts for 25 years, he can see more than just Rudolph's great-great-great-grandson. After that, Sam suddenly felt a little sad. Will Kelita not live that long? After sending Ivan back to the orphanage, Rudolph and Sam said, let's go, I'll take you to adapt. Sam followed Rudolph all the way and walked away. When you were asleep, the bloody night in Fabro City had just ended. It was in chaos, but it's much better now. There are 5 districts in Fabro City: Rondo District, Bayer District, and Central District. You can move around freely. There are many heretics in these 3 districts. The Redemption Act stipulates that the Parliament will not purge heretics, especially vampires. Of course, you are a vampire, remember not to go out during the day. Sam asked, can I go to the Central District? Yes, there are many blood servants in the Central District, Rudolph said. Why, do you want to go to the police station? But I don't know if Kelita is on night shift tonight. Sam was a little embarrassed when Rudolph hit the nail on the head. He felt that he was already dirty and unworthy of Kelita. Rudolph changed direction and walked towards the police station in the Central District. The closer he got to the police station, the more uneasy Sam became. He was afraid of seeing Kelida, but also afraid of not seeing Kelida. Rudolph and Sam stood on the street opposite the police station, looking at the service hall on the first floor of the police station. Someone went to the police station to report a case late at night. Kelida sat in the position of the police officer who reported the case and arranged the affairs in the hall. At a certain moment, Kelida felt that someone was looking at her. When she looked up and looked around, she found nothing. She looked outside the door again, and the street outside the door was empty. Rudolph sent Sam back to the house Sam rented. The poor landlord went to the mine and didn't come back this time. Sam sat on the unfamiliar bed, smelling the dust in the room, and was a little overwhelmed. Before leaving, Rudolph said, "Sam, adapt yourself. Half of Fabreau City is full of vampires now. You don't have to worry. But don't leave Fabreau City. You are a vampire of the Ravno family. It's okay if you don't meet the high-level vampires of the Ravno family. Once you meet them, you may be controlled by their secret arts. The Ravno family can't manage more than 10,000 vampires, but a level 1 vampire like you will definitely be targeted by them. As long as you stay in Fabreau City, Claude and I can keep you from being affected. The high-level vampires of the Ravno family dare not act openly now." After Rudolph left, Sam lay down, stirring up countless dust. He stared at the ceiling, not knowing what he was looking at. The second day after the full moon night is the reunion night of the orphanage. On the reunion night, the orphanage will invite those who graduated from the orphanage to come back and party with other children. There are only 2 graduates now, one is Zach and the other is Zebul. Zach is 16 years old this year. He stayed in the orphanage for 1 day and then left. Zebul stayed longer, and turned 15 after staying there for more than 2 months. Rudolph found Zebul a job as a waiter in a tavern, where Rudolph often went to buy alcohol. Zebul had also wandered around with Zach before, and he had a good relationship with other beggars, so even though he only stayed in the orphanage for more than 2 months, he was full of gratitude to the orphanage. At this time, the two were waiting for Rudolph to fill out a register in the reception room of the orphanage, which was also Rudolph's office. The register in Rudolph's hand was an honor list in the eyes of the children of the orphanage, because it recorded the donations of the orphanage. Donations are divided into social donations and donations within the orphanage. Social donations mainly include the Alchemy Council's grants, Thor Trading Company's donations, and large personal donations like Rudolph. The key is the donation within the orphanage. Last month, only Zach donated, and it was written on it 1 silver shield. Although it is only 1 silver shield, in the eyes of the children, it represents the highest honor. Zach took out half of his salary. "Mr. Rudolph, I will still donate 1 silver shield this month." He will continue to donate like this for 2 years, but he decided to come back to donate frequently after 2 years. Rudolph nodded and took Zach's money with a smile. "Okay. Talk to Cooper more often, just tell him you want a raise." Zach scratched his head embarrassedly. "I just started working, and I can't do much. Let's talk about it when I am fully familiar with the cemetery work." "Mr. Rudolph, it's my turn." Zebul was impatient. Zebul took out 3 silver shields, which made Rudolph stunned. He said, "Zebul, how many expensive wines did you sell? How did you make so much?" Earning 6 silver shields in the first month of work, Rudolph himself didn't have the ability at that time, it was too exaggerated. "Mr. Rudolph, don't ask about the method, anyway, this is half of my income in the first month." Rudolph and Zach looked at each other and saw the abnormality, especially Zebul's somewhat weak appearance, which made Rudolph even more suspicious. On the 3rd day of Yang, it was always more than 38 degrees. The more serious symptom was pain all over the body. This was a flesh pain strain. Every part of the skin hurt, the muscles of the waist and back hurt, and the skin that was pulled by clothes hurt when moving. "I have too few points and no leave application, so I'll just post 2 chapters hastily and see if tomorrow will be better. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 241. On the reunion night, the almshouse prepared a very sumptuous dinner, with pieces of pumpkin, pieces of dried meat, and even juice for everyone. The glass of the almshouse shook with the noise of the children. In particular, the younger the children, the more noisy they are. Rudolph cannot stay long in such situations, as he is prone to headaches. This workhouse has been in operation for 4 months and everything is so wonderful. Rudolph rarely appeared, and was a bit serious in front of the children, just like the patriarch, and was the sternest person in the almshouse. Dean Ivan treats every child tenderly and cares about every aspect of each child. The relief home hired 2 cooks to cook for more than 30 children. The workhouse also hired a private teacher, Miss Tallis, who taught the children how to read. Zach also came back often to attend classes, making up for his lack of literacy. In addition to literacy, the workhouse also invites people to teach children skills. For example, girls will learn some tailoring and nursing knowledge, and boys will learn some craftsman knowledge. I met many good people in the almshouse, and some shop owners came to teach simple knowledge and also select future apprentices. Rudolph and Ivan didn't have any lofty ideals. They wanted to train these children to be great people. As long as they grew up safely, had a job, had some friends, and could enter society normally like other children. This night, everyone happily enjoyed a sumptuous dinner. Rudolph observed Zebul inadvertently. Every time Zebul stood up from his seat, he would shake a little, which was a sign of weakness. Earning 6 silver shields a month is not that easy to earn. After the party, Rudolph summoned Zach. Zach, follow Zebul and see what Zebul does to make money. If it's a serious business, that's fine. If there are any problems, tell me as soon as possible. 5 days later, Zach found Rudolph. Zach was a little anxious. Mr. Rudolph, Zebul is selling blood to make money. Selling blood, Rudolph's expression suddenly became serious. In Fabreau City, anything related to blood is not a good thing. When blood is in the human body, it is human nutrition. Once out of the human body, it becomes dirty blood food. There is a great need for blood in the city of Fabreau. When the blood servant was in the mine, the Rievno family provided blood. I don't know what means they used. But when the blood servants returned to Fabreau City, the blood servant miners are all paid, and so many blood servants will definitely make the price of blood soar. Rudolph thought for a while and then said, Zach, you go follow the blood merchant first, and come to me when you have news. Rudolph gave Zach an infinity revolver, giving him a certain level of combat effectiveness among level 1 apostles. The endless revolver is a level 1 witch weapon with very high combat effectiveness, enough to allow Zach to protect himself in most situations. After Zach left the almshouse, Rudolph also walked out. He came to the central area, where Sam lived. It took a lot of effort to find Sam, who was drunk in the bar. Not everyone can quickly accept that they have become a heretic, especially a heretic who has undergone huge physical and mental changes like a vampire, and is also the most notorious villain heretic in Fabreau City recently. Waiter, give me a glass of red wine. Rudolph sat opposite Sam. Captain Rudolph. Just call me Rudolph. Seeing Sam's drunken appearance and his eyelids being unusually heavy, Rudolph sighed inwardly. Sam, it's time to find something for you to do. What is it? In fact, Sam is not interested in anything. Thinking about the fact that he has 250 years to live, he feels that everything is meaningless. 30 years is enough to bring drastic changes to the city of Fabreau, let alone 250 years. Rudolph said, there is probably a blood trade in Dordo district, which is very dangerous. If the blood of ordinary people falls into the hands of the Rievno family, it is likely that the Rievno family will create more blood servants. Let's go. Come on, come with me, Go see Director Claude. We want to prevent the situation from getting worse, and I hope you will be involved in this matter. Sam woke up a lot, and his pupils were trembling constantly. The feeling of becoming a blood servant and a vampire was very bad, and he didn't want others to become like him. After Rudolph left the tavern, Sam followed him. When Sam followed Rudolph into the city police station, everything felt so familiar. Rudolph's high sheriff's badge allowed him to find Claude unimpeded. Oh my God, for the hard-working director of Fabreau City, I thought I would make an appointment today and see you tomorrow. Let me see what time it is now. Rudolph opened his pocket watch. It is 10 o'clock in the evening. It's not easy to see you at work. Claude sighed. It's almost time. I'm about to find a suitable deputy director. When I find him 5 or 6 deputy directors, I will be relaxed. Then no one will be able to find me during working hours. Unfortunately, it's not possible yet. I only have 3 deputy directors now, and Fabreau City is still adapting to the Redemption Act. There are many things that I need to watch. As he spoke, Claude looked at Sam behind Rudolph. Sam, are you awake? Wake up, director. Claude felt that the two of them came to see him smelling of alcohol just to anger him. He also wanted to have a drink with a certain lady and chat about life and strangers. Of course, Claude has been through many battles and never misses a target. He will not really do what a certain lady planned. After the greetings, Rudolph said seriously, Director, there may be blood transactions in the Bayer district. Someone is buying and selling blood. I am worried that the blood will fall into the hands of the Ravenel family again. Claude frowned instantly. This is not a trivial matter. I will go and check with Sam to see what is going on. Rudolph said, if someone is really doing blood transactions, the police station needs to help publicize the harm of private blood sales. Posters, brochures, and even door-to-door promotion are all necessary. The Dordo district finally survived the blood fog night, and it would be a pity to give it to the vampires again. Okay, I understand what you mean. I will arrange for police officers to publicize the harm of private blood sales. Rudolph and Sam left the office, and I don't know when Kelida was waiting at the door. The two looked at each other with resentment and reluctance in their eyes. Rudolph said tactfully, oh, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Sam, come to the orphanage to find me tomorrow night. Okay, Rudolph. Only Sam and Kelida were left in the corridor.